Soybean farmer here. I have been bankrupted by Trump 3 times now. On top of that, I have voted for him 3 times. And if he runs in 2028, I'll vote for him again.
You're not getting the $2,000 check. For sure. You weren't already getting it. You are for sure not getting it now. My favorite part is that the very revenue that is being used to actually bail out the farmers is the very reason why they need a bailout. Just a reminder to the people who are saying that the deportations are going to fix everything. Yeah, undocumented immigrants contribute around $60 billion a year in federal taxes, either through ITINs or through payroll taxes. But and the worst part is that the farmers who literally shot themselves in the face when they voted for Donald Trump are going to go to him and they're going to thank him for sewing it back together. But if these tariffs keep going, he's just going to shoot them in the leg.
Here's what actually went down. Tariffs hit China in 2018. China retaliated by cutting U.S. soybean imports and signing long-term deals with Brazil instead. Those aren't temporary contracts. That's not a negotiation tactic. When you lose a market like that, it's gone. Brazil built infrastructure, expanded production, locked in multi-year agreements. They're not giving that up because American farmers suddenly want their customer back. The first bailout didn't fix anything because you can't subsidize your way out of losing your buyer. The money kept farms afloat temporarily, but the core problem, no market, never got solved. So now it's happening again, except worse, and everyone's acting surprised. Markets don't operate on loyalty. They operate on reliability. And when you prove you're unreliable, your customers move on.
You know how the red pills keep saying that they support SNAP funding if every single person on it goes through a mandatory drug test like every 90 days? I support this bailout if every farmer goes through basic media literacy training. And just so we're clear, I'm not shitting on farmers. I'm just laughing because you could have avoided this.
Percent of manufacturers have under 20 employees, right? There's like 4,000 companies that have more than 5 manufacturing companies. Donald Trump is trying to come in with a hammer and say, right, you're the nail. I'm going to hit you with a 200% tariff, John Deere. Do you want to be underneath a hammer? Because when you put a 200% tariff on John Deere and only a 10 or 20% tariff on their Chinese competitors, their Chinese competitors are now less expensive than John Deere.
Let's talk about this equipment disaster. You put a 200% tariff on John Deere, but only 10 to 20% on Chinese competitors. Basic math, Chinese equipment just became cheaper than American equipment. Now farmers can't afford John Deere because of the tariffs. They can't buy Chinese alternatives without contradicting everything they voted for, so they're buying used equipment, which means John Deere loses sales, lays off workers, and entire rural towns lose jobs. This is what happens when trade policy gets designed around slogans instead of spreadsheets. Nobody asked the basic question: if American equipment becomes more expensive, who wins? Not American companies, not American farmers, not American workers. The companies getting contracts now, foreign.
Soybean farmer here. I have been bankrupted by Trump 3 times now. On top of that, I have voted for him 3 times, and if he runs in 2028, I'll vote for him again. During his first term in 2017, he put tariffs on China. That bankrupted the soybean industry in America, and he had to do a bailout for us, $28 billion bailout. So he saved us after he bankrupted us. Then in 2020, we became on the brink of bankruptcy due to COVID and Trump's horrible handling of the pandemic, which shut the world down. Then in 2022, we got a contract with the Department of Agriculture under Joe Biden. Joe Biden helped us so much, and he gave us funding for our farm, and we were back on track. But for whatever fucking reason, in 2024, we voted for Trump again, and now we are going bankrupt. I mean, it really don't make no sense for us to keep voting for him, but goddamn, we gonna do it. China has canceled all soybean orders from America, and they are buying from Brazil now. We have no one to sell our soybeans to, but guess what?
Stop right here. Bankrupted 3 times. Voted for him 3 times. We'll do it again. That's not politics. That's refusing to learn. And look, I understand the psychology. When you've invested this much emotionally into a decision, admitting you were wrong feels impossible. It feels like betraying your entire identity. But here's reality. The other administration gave you a contract that got you back on track. You admitted it yourself. And then you voted for the policies that bankrupted you twice before. Your pride is not worth your farm. Your ideology is not worth your family's financial security. The market doesn't care about your hat. China doesn't care about your yard signs. Your banker doesn't care about your principals when payments are due. Sometimes the hardest thing is admitting a mistake, but that's the only path forward. Doing the same thing expecting different results isn't conviction. It's just refusing reality.
Trump is planning another farm bailout. And we vote for him because we don't believe in socialism, but we are totally fine with getting money from the government to help our farms, and we're just going to keep voting Republican. It don't make no sense, but we're just going to keep doing it. And the funny part is, everyone else who's getting bankrupted by his policies thanks to our votes, they don't get bailouts. Only us farmers do. Ho-ho! MAGA 2028, baby.
And there it is. Everyone else getting crushed by these policies? No bailout. Truckers, warehouse workers, manufacturers losing contracts? Figure it out, but farmers get billions. This is selective welfare. Government handouts are bad, unless they're mine. Small government, except when you need a big check. Personal responsibility, except when your choices backfire. Free market capitalism, except when the market decides against you. The same people who said, if you can't afford to live, get a better job, are now saying, the government needs to save my business. The voices that mocked food stamps are cashing subsidy checks. If we're having a safety net, it needs to be for everyone, not just politically connected industries. If a farmer deserves a bailout, a single mom working 2 jobs deserves health care. If agriculture gets billions, students drowning in debt deserve relief. You can't have selective compassion based on who votes which way.
Well, my friends, our farmers are in full-blown crisis, and it's not because of Mother Nature. It's because of Donald Trump's reckless tariffs that have torched decades of trade relationships and handed America's agriculture future to China and Brazil on a silver platter. 12,000 tons of pork canceled. Soybean exports collapsed, and family farms are now shutting down, and it doesn't stop there. Longshoremen, truckers, warehouse workers, entire communities are being gutted. This didn't have to happen, but Trump wanted a trade war. He wanted headlines, and now our farmers are paying the price while China laughs its way to the Brazilian soybean fields. And to make it worse, farmers who sign contracts with their own government, they're being stiffed, left holding the bag. So let me be clear. I will fight like hell to rebuild our rural economy, restore fair trade, and make sure American farmers never again become pawns in a MAGA publicity stunt. This district deserves better. America deserves better. Are you ready to fight back? My name is Doug Hune, and I'm a Democrat, congressional candidate in California's 3rd District. Please share this video, follow me, and donate to my congressional campaign. Link is down below and also my profile. Thank you so much for your support.
Farmers laying awake, crying at night because they're cash strapped. Look at this. Farmers and cattle ranchers are short 150,000 workers to pick crops. Fruit is rotting on the ground. No soybean deals with China, which is 60% of what they normally sell every year. 0 deals. Farm equipment. John Deere is losing millions of dollars due to tariffs, and farmers, if they have the money, are buying used equipment. Farmers who every single time vote for this administration, and every single time, this is an exact replica, but times 10 from his first term. Farmers crying at night, and many of them, I bet you, would say they'd vote for him again.
There's a difference between sympathy and enabling. Farming is tough. Rural communities are hurting. Generational farms going under is genuinely tragic. But sympathy doesn't erase accountability. When you vote for policies that economists warned would crater your industry, when you ignore experts, data, historical precedent, and it happens exactly as predicted, you own that. This wasn't a natural disaster. This wasn't weather. This was policy. Man-made, and you supported it. Wore the hat, went to the rallies, argued with neighbors about it. Now Blackstone, a hedge fund, is circling, ready to buy family farms for pennies. That's not conspiracy. That's capitalism. When small operators fail, big money swoops in. That's consolidation. Whatever happens next, learn the lesson. When economists explain trade wars have no winners, believe them. When your biggest customer says they'll go elsewhere, take it seriously. Because the hedge funds buying these farms won't make the same mistakes twice.
Getting exactly what you voted for. And guess what? Blackstone and JD Vance are ready to come in and swoop up your bankrupt farms. MAGA farmers, I have zero sympathy for you. Zero.
So there's a lot of talk right now about farmers and a bailout. But do they not have bootstraps? I thought bootstraps is what makes America great, that we can pull ourselves up to it. But people don't remember the whole comment about pulling up your bootstraps. It says, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which is impossible because if you're standing in your boots, you can't pull yourself up by bootstraps. However, these farmers voted for what they're getting. They begged, they prayed. They're ecstatic about Project 45. And when Project 45 slapped it in their face, they're like, oh, please, 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 Daddy Trump, give us a bailout. They're not going to get a bailout because little daddy.
10 to 15 billion dollars that's going to the farmers. I think it's stupid. I think all it is a pass-through to get to equipment dealers, to get to manufacturers, chemical, fertilizer. Tariffs have very little to do with our cost of production.
This point deserves attention. When government gives money to farmers, most of it doesn't stay with farmers. It flows through to equipment dealers, chemical companies, seed suppliers. Taxpayers are essentially subsidizing John Deere and Monsanto by funneling money through farmers. Farmers aren't getting rich. They're barely staying afloat while massive corporations collect the profit. Farmers are just middlemen in the transaction. And because bailouts keep coming, behavior doesn't change. Farmers keep overpaying for equipment and inputs. There's no market correction because the government props up the system. In normal markets, when costs rise and revenue drops, you adapt. But when you know a check is coming, why bother? That's unsustainable. Eventually, bailouts stop or debt becomes too much, and you're stuck with high costs but no safety net. The real solution? Invest in rural infrastructure, support local processing so farmers capture more value. But that requires actual policy work, not just writing checks.
We should easily be able to sell $8, $9, $10 beans and make money. Corn, we should easily be able to sell for $3.50, $4 and make money. Here's where I disagree with the 10 to 15 billion dollar bailout that's going to the farmers. Let it work itself out. All this money's going to do is continue to make farmers that have made bad decisions in the past continue to make bad decisions in the future. And any money that the farmer gets, he's simply just going to pass it on. So that's all we are. We're just a passer on this whole deal. Don't get me wrong. I think government money in farmers' hands is the best place for it because we're going to support our local communities. We're going to buy shit. We're going to make local communities strive. The problem with that, though, is local communities aren't what they once were. Not going to throw any companies into this whole mix because I got a lot of friends that work in the equipment, fertilizer, chemical, seed industry, but this money is not like it's going local anymore. Don't get me wrong, there's a few circumstances where it is, local dealers, independents, so on and so forth, but majority of this shit is getting floated across the pond and it's our money. This money is going to enable farmers to basically spend the same stupid amounts of money they have in the past versus naturally just this whole situation working itself out where, you know, usage goes way down on certain products and the price goes down. But that's not going to happen now because usage is going to stay relatively good because farmers are going to have a little extra money, and when they got extra money, they spend it. So for all you freaking folks out there that are non-farmers that think we're just a bunch of welfare freaking people out here that like taking money from the general public, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. We actually would prefer not to receive all that money. We'd prefer everything to naturally work itself out. Now, somebody on here will probably be like, well, if you don't like it, just don't take the money. Well, okay, that puts you at a disadvantage versus your neighbors. That don't make sense. That's the way I see it.
This is the prisoner's dilemma. Individually, refusing the money makes no sense because competitors will take it and gain advantage. But collectively, everyone would be better off if the system corrected naturally. Nobody wants to admit subsidies aren't helping small farmers. They're helping big operations get bigger. Large farms capture the vast majority of subsidy dollars. They have acreage, volume, political connections. Small family farms get crumbs. Saving American agriculture is actually accelerating consolidation. We're helping big agribusiness buy out struggling small farms, using taxpayer money to eliminate competition. Farmers who understand this are stuck. They know the system is broken but can't fix it alone. They need money to survive today, even knowing it doesn't solve anything long term.
This is a map that shows the impact of tariffs on farmers across the country. Hundreds of thousands of them work in industries that are impacted by tariffs. These are the states that voted for Trump, and you can see the overlap. China and Canada placed retaliatory tariffs focusing on the Midwest and the South, and that's intentional. This is meant to send a message to the president and apply pressure to Republicans who have to answer to their own constituents. Farming is an easy target because the United States exports more than $100 billion of agricultural goods each year. Let's look at where I'm from, Iowa. Iowa is a top producer of corn, it's a major producer of soybeans, which is a big export, and it's the second largest agricultural exporting state. The state's largest export market is Canada, and the fourth largest is China. For farmers, these kinds of export sales can determine whether they stay afloat. China and Canada place tariffs on corn, soybeans, and a list of other U.S. farm products. This makes it more expensive for buyers to purchase U.S. farm goods. That can make the buyers turn to cheaper products from Argentina or Brazil instead, and it's hard for U.S. farmers to get those markets back. Farmers have been the target of trade wars before, like in Trump's first term, when agricultural exports plummeted by more than $27 billion. The impact was so bad that the White House had to bail out farmers with subsidies of over $20 billion. Trump gave several buckets of payments to farmers in his first term for the trade war, for pandemic assistance, and some said that was an effort to shore up their political support. Farmers are still a strong voting bloc for Trump. About 77% voted for President Trump. The trade war was painful for farmers the first time around, but this time it could be much worse because the tariffs are bigger, the retaliation is bigger, and the economy is feeling more brittle.
Why this time is different. Before, the economy was strong. Unemployment was low. There was room to absorb the hit. Government could throw billions at farmers without major issues elsewhere. Now, economy is tighter, inflation has been a problem, government debt is higher, tariffs aren't limited anymore. This is broader, deeper, hitting multiple sectors simultaneously. Trade wars spiral fast. Retaliation, escalation, counter-escalation. Every round, more industries get caught, not just farmers anymore. Manufacturers, logistics, retail. And trade wars are easy to start, incredibly hard to end. Backing down looks like weakness. Admitting failure loses credibility. So politicians double down even when damage is obvious. Farmers are canaries in the coal mine, getting hit first because agriculture is easy to target. But this spreads. Manufacturing jobs disappear. Supply chains break. Prices rise for everyone. The communities that voted hardest for these policies are getting hit hardest. Economic pain doesn't stay contained.
Since the industries impacted will disproportionately affect his base, Trump has changed his tone on tariffs from this.
Tariffs are going to make us rich as hell. It's going to bring our country's businesses back.
To something a bit more realistic.
We may have short-term a little pain, and people understand that.
When you get into these tit-for-tat cycles of tariffs and retaliation, trade wars can spiral out of control, and that can have very painful consequences for farmers and other everyday Americans.
Top of the morning.
That's a little bit better news, Yerster. Seems like our government's going to give us a little bit of a, I guess y'all going to call it a bailout.
Welfare.
It's a little bit of a check. It ain't going to be much. It's going to come from some of this tariff money.
Tariff.
Thank the good Lord. But
Amen.
I first want to tell you, farmers in general do not want subsidies.
Sure you do.
We don't want them at all. We don't want these, what y'all call a bailout. We don't want that.
Socialism.
A fair trade plan. A good market value.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what we want for our crop. We can out-yield any amount of money the government's going to give us. And furthermore, whatever money they give us, 75 or 80% of that is just going to slip through our hands. It's going to pay off our expenses and our inputs.
Oh, so
your diesel fuel, your tires.
We're paying for your farm.
Payments, your fertilizer, your seed costs, chemical costs,
Oh.
labor costs.
Welfare.
Like we're just going to get all these checks and just go willy-nilly buy boats.
Willy-nilly.
That'd be a good idea, but it ain't that kind of money.
Okay.
It ain't that big of dollars. We can out-yield it. We can make way more money if they'll just get us a good farm bill, get us a good trade plan, which I don't know what's coming in the future. This might all be
What's coming is they want your farm, buddy.
I don't know what everybody's thinking, and I'm not talking right side of the aisle, left side of the aisle. I don't know.
You voted on the wrong side of the aisle, Trumper.
Some kind of little subsidy, a bailout, is everybody?
Welfare, buddy.
I know y'all are gonna be all up in my comments.
I'm gonna be all up in a video.
But I just want y'all to know, we don't want the subsidy. Yeah, we're gonna
Sure you do.
any help we can get.
You sure do.
And when a farmer goes under, if you live in a
Yeah,
rural community,
called socialism.
when farmers start taking a big hit and going broke, that trickles down.
It sure does. You get what you voted for.
Tire shop, grocery stores, gas stations.
Yeah.
We get hit, y'all get hit.
Sure
in these
do.
rural areas.
Welcome to fascism.
Having a great day. We don't want the subsidies. Get off my back.
The farmer needs some bail. The farmer needs some bail. Hi ho the dairy-o. The farmer needs some bail. Well, I know what side of the aisle you voted on. It only took me 2 minutes of checking your social media accounts to find this gem. But who am I kidding? We already fucking knew. Hey, Brainiac, the bailout you're begging for is called federal welfare, socialism, all of the damn things you've been hell-bent on voting against for others in the U.S. Voting with your racism, bigotry, and to own the libs is expensive. So what part of farmers accepting federal subsidies and bailouts and how that equates to welfare and socialism don't you understand? The same thing you MAGA chuckle fucks bitch about that helps others in need in our country. Women, children, elderly that are in need of assistance. But we know how self-centered and jealous you good old boys are. Always worried about somebody getting something for free. Meanwhile, you farm boy hypocrites are always getting bailed out every fucking time. And how nice of Trump foreskin to send $20 billion this month to bail out Argentina's farmers. Yeah, the demonized progressives have always been supportive of farmers when they need federal socialism. But we also want people such as women, children, elderly, disabled that are in need to have federal assistance with health care, school lunches, housing assistance. So what the fuck is your excuse? It's good for the farmers, but not for anyone else. Got it. Of course, you don't see the fucking hypocrisy here because that would require empathy and brain capacity. You hypocritical MAGA farmers are prime examples of believing in for me, but not for thee. Old Dick Donald's gonna have your farm, E-I-E-I-O. But my advice to you is to look into JD Couch Humpers Group. They're ready to buy that farm for pennies on the dollar. That way you can get a jump start on a new profession. Hey, you reap what you sow. And the rest of y'all, have a good day now, okay?
All right, for those people who aren't economists like me and are just good old country folks, I'm going to break this down for you. So China got pissed off at Trump, and they said, we're going to take our 1.5 billion soybean-eating mouths, and we're going to go buy them from somewhere else. And then American farmers said, hold on, we've been selling all these soybeans to China, and now China says they don't want them from us. What are we going to do? And MAGA said, well, farmers need to be growing crops for America anyway. And farmers said, we ain't got 1.5 billion Americans. So Trump said, I love farmers. I would never do anything to hurt farmers. Who could have possibly seen this coming? Who?
Perfect breakdown. Start a trade war with your biggest customer. They stop buying and go elsewhere. You use taxpayer money to bail out the people you hurt with your own policy. Then spin it as brilliant strategy. This isn't chess. This is burning your house down to prove you're tough on fire. People are still defending it, still saying they'd vote the same way, which means this isn't about economics anymore. It's about identity, being on a team, never admitting you were wrong, even when your bank account is screaming at you. Your political identity is not worth your financial destruction. Team loyalty is not worth your family farm. Pride is not worth watching your life's work get bought by hedge funds. Economics is cause and effect. When you ignore effect because you like the cause, you set yourself up to fail. It's not too late to change course. Your worth isn't tied to being right about everything. It's tied to being willing to learn and make better choices. The alternative, bankruptcy, while still wearing the hat. That's not patriotism. That's stubbornness with a price tag.
So he said, I'm going to bail y'all out, and I'm going to use the taxes that I've been collecting from the working class. Tariffs that I've been collecting from the working class, and I'm going to help the farmers out. And MAGA says, holy crap, he's playing 3D chess. Did I get that? Is that all? I got it. Okay. All right. Love y'all.
You can't vote for policies that destroy your industry then expect bailouts. You can't scream about government overreach then demand checks when choices backfire. You can't treat global economics like a culture war and expect to win. These farmers aren't victims of any conspiracy. They're living proof elections have consequences. The bailouts will probably come. They always do for politically connected industries. But money won't solve the core problem. China's not coming back. Brazil's locked in. Trade relationships are broken. And when the next crisis hits, the same people will make the same choices, expecting the same bailout. That's not economics. That's expensive loyalty. Drop a comment. Do they deserve help, or is this what they signed up for? Hit like if this made you think. Share it. Subscribe. Reality doesn't care about your politics. Eventually, the math catches up with everyone.